Happy Thursday, y'all. It is Tennessee versus UConn game week. It is game 9 for both these teams. Tennessee is 6-2, and UConn is 1-7. Jim Mora, he is in his second season. He had a better season last year. This season they're struggling. But anyway, let's dive into the stats. But before I do that, let me ask you all, if you've not subscribed yet, please do that. I would greatly appreciate it. But getting that out of the way, let's break down these two teams and how they match up. Strength of schedule for these teams so far, 8 games into the season. Tennessee has played the 15th hardest schedule in the country. UConn has played the 98th hardest schedule in the country. So Tennessee has been much more tested playing in the SEC than UConn has in their conference. And as far as the spread in this game, like I said before, Tennessee is big favorites. Tennessee, as of Thursday night, Tennessee is a 36-point favorite in this game. But like I said before, we do not need to overlook this opponent. The last time we overlooked an opponent was Austin Peay, and they made a mockery of us. So we need to stay crisp, need to stay sharp. Last game for these two teams that they played this year. Tennessee won last week against Kentucky, 33-27. Thought Tennessee played a really good game for the most part. Really, the only sore spot was our pass defense, which we played poorly in. But other than that, Tennessee played an exceptional game. Joe Milton played the best game of the year so far for him. UConn lost 21-14 against Boston College. Boston College is kind of middle-tier ACC team, and they were competitive against Boston College. So you got to tip your hat to UConn for still having some fight in them and being competitive. So getting that all out of the way, let's look into the stats of these two teams 8 games into the season. And the first thing that I'm going to analyze is the Tennessee scoring offense versus the UConn scoring defense. Tennessee right now has the 43rd scoring offense in the country. They're averaging 31.8 points a game. UConn is 95th as far as scoring defense in the country. They are giving up 29.3 points a game. And that's not that good. Tennessee definitely has the advantage in that. Total offense versus Tennessee's total offense versus UConn total defense. Tennessee is 28th in the country, averaging 443.5 yards a game. UConn is 101st. They are giving up 404.5 yards a game. Tennessee obviously has the advantage offensively against UConn, and when you roll these stats out so far. Now, this is the bread and butter for Tennessee that I'm going to get into next. That is the Tennessee rushing offense and versus the UConn rush defense. So how does this match up? Well, Tennessee right now has the 7th rushing offense in the country. They are averaging 221.8 yards a game. UConn is 97th. They are giving up 167.2 yards a game. Tennessee rushed for over 250 yards last week against Kentucky. Kentucky was a team that was 12th in the country in rush defense, and Tennessee rushed for 250 yards on that team. That's just exceptional. Tennessee has the best trio of backs in the country. That's no secret. And Tennessee has a very solid offensive line as well, playing better every week. I expect Tennessee, honestly, to get probably around 300 yards rushing against UConn, I would say pretty easily, if everything goes well. So, obviously, Tennessee has the major advantage in the rush offense versus the UConn rush defense. Tennessee pass offense versus the UConn pass defense. Now, this has kind of been the Achilles heel for Tennessee this year, the pass offense, but they are playing better. Played pretty decent against Alabama. Threw for like 270 yards, and then we threw for 220 against Kentucky. So anyway, let's look at that. Tennessee is 75th in passing offense, averaging 221.6 yards a game. And Connecticut's passing offense or passing defense, I should say, is 84th. They're limiting teams to 237.2 yards a game. Tennessee's passing offense and Tennessee's rushing, Tennessee's passing offense and Tennessee's rushing offense are almost identical. They're literally just tenths of a points away from averaging. They basically average the same amount of yards a game. That's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But anyway, they're very equally balanced. But yeah, I would think even though Tennessee's major strength is not passing offense, I still think they have the advantage against UConn in this game. I would hope that Joe Milton throws for at least 250 yards in this game. But I also will say that I think that you'll see Nico play in the second half in this game. I think Josh Heupel wants to get his starters out and get them rested. For the Missouri game, I don't think Heupel wants to have his starters in there in the fourth quarter or even in the third quarter if he can. Get them rested, get them out of the game, get them ready for Missouri. Now let's look on the defensive side of things. Tennessee scoring defense versus UConn scoring offense. Tennessee's scoring defense is 30th in the country. They are limiting teams to 20.4 points a game. UConn scoring offense is 115th. They're only averaging 19.8 points a game. Tennessee obviously has the advantage on that. I don't see Tennessee having much trouble with UConn in this game as far as defensively. And then let's look at Tennessee's total defense versus UConn's total offense. Tennessee is 26th in total defense. They are giving up 327.5 yards a game to UConn. They are 114th in the country. They are averaging 315.9 yards a game. So UConn, they're really, really struggling offensively, 115th, 114th, really have trouble moving the ball up and down the field, and things are about to get a lot harder this week against an SEC level defense. Now, that being said, Tennessee's secondary is going to have to do a much better job. I think part of the problem is the fact we've not got any holding calls on our defensive ends. They've not been able to get to the passer or to the quarterback, and a lot of that's due to holding calls that's not been called, and it's left the secondary out there kind of stranded on their own. So hopefully we get some holding calls, we get to the quarterbacks, and we make their lives a little bit easier. So anyway, now let's look at the Tennessee rushing defense versus the UConn rushing offense. Tennessee's rushing defense has been pretty rock solid all season long. They're 19th in the country right now. They are they're giving up 105.1 yards a game on the ground this year. UConn is 90th. They're averaging 134.9 yards a game. I think Tennessee definitely has the advantage there as well. Tennessee limited Bray Davis last week for Kentucky. I think he had like 50 some yards in that game, and they only averaged for 72 yards rushing total. So Tennessee did a really good job limiting Kentucky rushing the football. And Tennessee's done a pretty darn good job all year in their rush defense. Tennessee's pass defense versus UConn pass offense. Tennessee is 61st in pass defense. They are giving up 222.4 yards a game. And Connecticut's pass offense is 111th. They're they're averaging 181 yards a game passing. So Tennessee's pass defense is going to, get off the snide and do a better job. What better team to do it against than UConn? Tennessee struggled against the Kentucky offense that was in the hundreds itself, passing the football. I think it was 106. So if Connecticut has an opportunity here to get some yards through the air, if Tim Banks still plays that silly zone that he had us in all last week, and he tried to make Devin Leary a Heisman candidate on us. So need to play more man coverage, need to be more aggressive, and we don't need to play no 15-yard zone coverage stuff where the quarterback can just throw it all day out there to the receivers and nobody's on them. Need to be more aggressive. Tim Banks did not have a good game plan in my book. I mean, not saying Tim Banks has had a bad year, As far as the defensive coordinator, I think he's been much better than he was last year, but I thought he had a pretty bad game plan last week, and it almost got us beat against Kentucky. Now, let's look at the turnovers in this game. Tennessee is 42nd in the country on turnovers. They're +2 this season. UConn is 72nd. They're -1. Penalties thus far in this year. Tennessee is one of the worst teams in penalties in this. I mean, I think every Tennessee fan will tell you this. We've really, really struggled with penalties. But for whatever reason, it seems like the other teams never get penalties called on them. So I'm hoping that this week we can sometime, that they'll call penalties on the other teams. But anyway, like I said, Tennessee's 119th. They're averaging 67.5 yards a game in penalties. It's way too much. Need to be more disciplined than that. And UConn is 90th. They're not great themselves. They're averaging around 58 yards in penalties. So anyway, kind of broke these two teams down. About the only thing that UConn has the advantage in is penalties, and they're not that great in that regard themselves. So Tennessee should cruise in this game. I really think if Tennessee wanted to, they could win by 70 or 80 points if they really, really wanted to. But I see after halftime a lot of the starters being out of the game, getting rest. You're going to see a lot of the second, third, fourth string guys getting playing time. You're going to probably see Nico come in the game, get some valuable reps. He's not got to play much this year. And that brings me to my prediction in this game. I think Tennessee wins 49-10. I think Tennessee cruises. Shouldn't have any trouble in this game. Tennessee, after that Kentucky game, that's the best I've seen them honestly look this year as a complete football team. Tennessee needs to work on that pass defense. They don't need to sit in those zone coverages and let their quarterback triculate the ball down the field and keep drives alive. We need to be aggressive, and we need to go after the passer like we did against Texas A&M, South Carolina. If we can do those things, then Tennessee can be more of a complete football team. Tennessee still has a lot of things in front of them. They're going to need help. Tennessee's going to obviously have to win out. That's a tall order, and they're going to have some help from Georgia as well. Georgia's going to have to drop a game to either Ole Miss or Missouri, and that's going to be hard because, Georgia's just a really good football team. But anyway, statistically, Tennessee still has a chance to get to Atlanta. It's far-fetched, but it's still possible. But anyway, hope Tennessee comes out, takes care of business, and dispatches UConn, and I think they will, 49-10. But anyway, I'll see you guys here on Sunday, and I'll break everything on the post game and the analysis on that game. But until then, let's hope Tennessee goes out, takes care of business, and go Vols. I'll talk to you guys later.